Here we are. So hi, Tom, or Josh, I guess, not Tom. Josh, Chris, and Ma, or Melissa. Weird. Oh, did I go wrong on the live thing? No? You're all here. Oh, there we go. I have my computer going, and it took like 10 or 15 seconds before it actually started playing. So I just should have done this earlier, but I'm just going through and taking the caps off of gemstones here. And yeah, it looks like things are going to look a little dark on the light background. I'll have to sorry, I trail off at the end of sentences. I'll have to get a black background. Hi, Ryan. Lurking is fine. No pressure to buy anything today. Some of these are a little bit on the pricey side, and which, if you've seen my Etsy shop, a lot of the higher price stuff is in there. But all of gemstones look so much better without these little plastic caps on them, even if it is a little bit drowned out by the light there. Let's see, a couple more to go. So these stones are just stuff that I've cut in the last couple of years, really. There's a little bit of everything, because one thing I like to do is cut a lot of different types of materials. And I guess some of this isn't for sale. Like this is actually the Washington opal that I got from Jared at Currently Rockhounding. And it's not for sale because it's one of the nice, cool pieces that I have. It also isn't super transparent, so it's, it's more of a sentimental facet than anything else. But sometimes there's interesting stories behind some of the material that I have on here. Like this one. This is a, this is a synthetic sapphire, which, they're a dime a dozen more sometimes, but let me get tweezers so I can. So this is synthetic sapphire. It's a nice kind of vibrant yellow. And this is actually niobate, which is a sort of nickname given to this specific sapphire, which was grown or commissioned by Arya Akvan, who I interviewed for my, a history of the Hoquiam ruby interview. His company is working to facet or not facets, his company is working to commission new gemstone colors, and there's a lot of interesting things in the pipeline. And so this is one of his first commissions, which the Nobalt, it was actually supposed to be a cobalt doped sapphire, and it was supposed to be like a vibrant blue or something like that. But when they grew it, it actually came out where because of the way that it was grown, the cobalt basically evaporated or disappeared from the system, and all that was left was it's nickel doped. And so it's kind of an interesting backstory behind that that gemstone. Oh, and that one's only $90 because I don't really know how to price it. I wasn't originally going to sell it, but I can always. I think Aria has quite a bit of it because he commissioned a whole boule basically. Most of these are priced. Oh, a couple more to go here. And there we go. Let's see. And some of these you might recognize from Kyle's live sale. They're just small ones that I have. I'm not going to open these ones. These ones are little tourmalines that I worked on. Well, I can read. I guess I can. So these are little tourmalines that I worked to recut most of them. So I hope you can notice. There we go. So that big one on the top left, this one here, compared to the other ones, I hope you notice that it looks kind of flat, I guess. It's still pink. Actually, we'll zoom in a little bit. And so that one, and I gotta look off camera here. I don't think I didn't recut. These two bigger ones are ones that I didn't recut, and the smaller ones are ones that I did recut to give those a little bit more life. Where if you just want the pink color, the big ones are fine, but if you want the flash and the better polish and all that, the recut is the way to go. And that was kind of a skill that I was trying to work on, is recutting small stones. They're relatively easy. Unfortunately, they are obviously smaller because I have to recut them, and they aren't originally optimized for the stone material. Like, they were cut with really shallow angles, and so if you were to pick up one of them, wherever my tweezers are, oh, and there they go. So, yeah, it's just kind of flat, as opposed to one of the ones that are now scattered all over my little area here. When we get closer. I don't even remember what design this is. I have a little step cutter on the pavilion there. I don't remember what designs I used for some of these. I kind of mixed it up and did a few different ones, so they're not all exactly the same. some of those are upside down now. If you're interested in any of them, I don't have a price on here because they're not sized or anything, but I was thinking just, I don't know, like $25 a little for a little one per stone. Oh yeah, and so these ones, I made a video, I think, either for Patreon or for, maybe I released it, but I was talking about recutting stones, and I got a bunch of stones from my mom had a bunch of old faceted stones that, you know, this is where some of these tourmalines come from. And I wanted to start recutting them, so I don't have a price on what they were originally, but since they're so small, they're like $25 a piece if you want, if anyone's interested. And no pressure to buy anything, but I figured we'd just go through and I'll mess up all of my stones. Oh, that one was over there. And that one was over there. I should figure out. Let's see. This tray and the containers, I bought the tray. It all came from Amazon. I searched for like gem jars, I think is the search term I used, and I bought this, and it came with, or it has a little clasp. I don't want to close it because my jar tops are all up there, but this is a closing glass covered or glass topped container. And I also bought because I basically filled all the jars that I got with that one, I bought a second one, and it was just gem jars on Amazon. I had originally started with square boxes, which I bought on eBay of like a 50 pack for $20 or something. So it was cheaper than what these wound up being, but I was worried that those square ones, they have a glass top, which looks better for looking through the stone, but sometimes if there's dust or something that gets between the glass and the stone, I was worried that it might scratch some of the softer materials. Like this is Libyan desert glass, which I probably need to use my... So I've faceted a few Libyan desert glasses here and there. This one has those characteristic bubbles inside it still from the gas. Let's see. Still trying to find good lighting here. There we go, that's a little better. So you'll see on that corner facet there is a little bit of a blemish, and I think that's a void space that came to the surface, which is just unavoidable in a stone like this where there's so many bubbles and inclusions. Well, opal guy, I guess it depends on what you consider to be good. I think I had some pretty good faceted stones right from the beginning. I actually sold the second stone that I ever faceted on my Etsy shop, and the person didn't return it, so I guess it was good enough for them. So let's see, that Libyan desert glass, I think I sold the other one. I think this is the 1.9 carat one, but I can double check. And that's 200 for that one. But it just took, I guess what takes a long time is getting faster at it, because let's see, over here, this one isn't for sale, but this is the first stone that I ever faceted over at Mike Zinsky's workshop where he taught me how to facet. And this is his reverse brilliant design. It's a big stone. I know the issues with this stone, but you know, it looks pretty nice from far away. There's some issues. It is a relatively thick girdle compared to what there should be, but most of the meats are pretty good. I think I gave up on polishing some of the girdle because I took a couple of shortcuts and wasn't able to polish them out. Hello, Guillermo. I don't understand what you're saying. But so that was the first stone I ever faceted, which, you know, I think turned out well. It just took me, you know, like 9 hours to facet, whereas now I can probably do better than that in a shorter amount of time. It's more a matter of speed, I would say, than being good at it. I don't know. And then it's as you go, you learn how to do new things. Like I purposefully tried to challenge myself with some of my stones that I would cut. And so after I actually cut this stone at Mike's, and then I bought my machine and went home and faceted the same design in the same material so that I would know if I was able to do it all by myself with a stone that I was familiar with. And then from there, I branched out to other stones like amethyst and did a lot of cheaper materials to start. And like one of the early ones I did was X cubes, because they're pretty cool dichroic glass that turns out really well almost no matter how you facet them. Although I have found a couple of designs that don't work too well. Hello, Kyle. Congratulations on no jury duty. It's a good Father's Day present. And this design is meant to look kind of like a flower petal. It's Crisantemo by Marco Voltolini. And I faceted this in an aquamarine that I sold that was bought on Etsy not too long ago. That one is 160 for that 16.65 carat X cube. Obviously, it's a glass, so it's synthetic material, human made. Oh, I shouldn't cap that quite yet. And since we're on X cubes, this one is also meant to look kind of like a flower. There, it looks pretty good in the shadow even, with a few frosted facets to highlight sort of the petal look to it. This one is 150, and it's too big for the tongue, so I have to kind of hold it up. And it's one of those things where these X cubes are fun to facet because you know, they look good in any orientation, and every time you rotate it, it's a different color. And this stone was one of the first ones that I tried to use frosted facets for, which is kind of a growing trend in the faceting industry. Although usually the frosted facets are more along the facet junctions than the facets themselves. Frosting the facets themselves is a relatively old technique, or widespread technique. And that one is 14.84 carats, 16.7. And that one was 150 again. Let's see. I think that's the only, I actually have another X cube that I finished, but I forgot. I started doing 3K pre-polish, and the finish on that is pretty good, and I didn't realize that I didn't actually polish the pavilion of the other X cube that I was working on, so I completed the whole stone, and it looks kind of milky on the back now because I didn't polish it, so I've redopped it and I have to repolish it. Let's see. So, oh, actually, I did divide these. From the right of my tweezers right now, these 3 columns are all on my Etsy shop for sale there. And the ones on the left are ones that haven't been listed, or I haven't listed there for whatever reason. Like I said, some of these I sent to Kyle to showcase at his live, and they didn't sell there. This little green one here, which doesn't look super green, and yeah, I'll have to work on lighting if I want to do this. This is the moldavite, which looks really dark. Let's see. The moldavite that Kyle sent back. There's cat hair on it because we have cats, and cats have hairs everywhere. Hello, Alleluia. If I zoom in, does that help? The lines that are in this that you can, I think, see there are from the glass flow lines themselves and not the polish. So there's kind of an interesting texture if you look on the inside of these stones. And I wish I could get it to actually show the green that it looks like in real life, but the sun kind of overwhelms them. Do any react with UV? Yes. I've got a couple of laser rubies here, so that big one will react. The white reacts, or else I would just shine the light over all of it, but there's a couple of laser rubies, like the big one there, which is almost too big for tongs, but not quite. And I went to go get my UV light, but it's still packed from our trip down to the Oregon Sunstone mines. Can I focus on it? So it looks a little deeper red than it is in person. I think I have to switch this around here for a second. There we go. So this is a laser ruby that was intended to be made into laser rods that didn't quite meet their criteria. I think this is, this might be a design called Pinky and the Brain by Michael Holmes. Either that or it's his design called Harbor Coat. But that is it's a beast of a stone. I think I have it listed for like 600 or something on Etsy. I think I wrote 660, but it might be 600 on Etsy, because that is a almost 20 karat laser ruby, which, you know, this material isn't exactly cheap. And okay, I have to grab it. Try to avoid touching stones, but sometimes you gotta. And this one was one that was at Kyle's live sale, I think. Which is I think it's just a smaller laser ruby. Let me see here. Oh no, this is the amethyst corundum kunzite simulant. I don't even remember what I priced that at. 75. Yeah. I think that fluoresces, but I'm not sure. I guess so I don't do everything at random. Yeah, it's actually, so it's chemically identical to corundum. It's corundum, but it's like an amethyst colored kunzite simulant. So it's meant to imitate kunzite because I don't know that I can really show it without getting different light sources, or orienting it differently. But it's a dichroic or pleochroic, where in the boule, where if you rotate the rough material, as you rotate it, it goes between pink and purple. And I don't think you necessarily get that too much with the way that I faceted it anyway. But I think if you rotated it, it gets a little more kind of pinky as you go this way, and then it's more purple as you look straight down. All right. So this is a little, oh, that was one that I had at Kyle's because he wrote that 45 on there. This is just a little sunstone, little shillery sunstone. There's no real coloration except for the schiller in there, so it's kind of the coppery look. And I think this is the one that I wasn't sure if it was garnet or not. I'm pretty sure it is based on the way that it cut. Oh, that's fine, Kyle. As you can tell, I haven't really looked at these stones too much since I got them back from you. I just kind of put them back in my case of stones that I may or may not sell. Yeah, I do like sharp pears. They can be tricky, but they are fun. And so that's garnet. These two are Peridot that I recently finished. Did I price them? I didn't price them. And I'll zoom in a little bit because these are smallish stones. So yeah, this is Peridot, olivine Peridot, gem quality olivine. And it's kind of fallen off. There we go. And it keeps twisting. This is the Tic Tac design by Jeff Graham, meant to more highlight the color rather than give a lot of flash and sparkle. Which, let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. But that came off the DOP just a couple of days ago, really. I think before going down to Sunstones, I tried to work on faceting one small stone a day for a few days and posting the results to Instagram. And I think these were my last couple. This design is Foliage by Marianne Della Sala, who is on Instagram. And it's not a publicly released design, but it's kind of meant to imitate a leaf-ish. And I figured it had to be cut in a green stone then. But it's got some nice light play on the inside of it, I think. And one of the things I like to try to do is get designs where the stone doesn't window too quickly as you rotate it side to side, if possible, which is tough to do for something like a quartz or a low refractive index stone. Let's see. This one is an amethyst that's 4.5 carats. So a natural stone, if I can get it. Come on. Okay, it works a lot better sometimes to flip it over. Except it's at the margin of what my tweezers can do. There we go. So this one windows a little too quickly for my taste, personally. And it's a light amethyst, so it's Rose de France, I think is the trade name for it. Come on. It's a bright stone. And I had to kind of compromise the design to meet the rough shape. It's a bright stone. If we go back to non-black background, if it focuses on it, you can see the purple is in there. It's just a little bit, I gotta go back again. It's got some nice fire on the inside. Yes, it's a gentle purple, Melissa. Yeah, opal guy, I like that people have them in the cart, but sometimes I've seen some of my stones in people's carts for ages and ages, and they never pull the trigger. But it's nice to see that people are interested enough to go at least that far. So that was that amethyst was also not priced, but it's 4.5 carats. Let's see. probably like $90 on that one. Oh, I didn't uncover this one. Let's see. Maybe that one was too harsh. We'll try this. A little more diffuse light. These are a couple of very light natural aquamarine stones. One is 0.215 carats, one is 0.685, just under 3 millimeters and just over 6 millimeters in a square and a little triangle design. Aquamarine is a fun stone to polish, and I've, did I do another one? I got a little supply of better colored aquamarine. These ones can look fairly white if it's too washed out. Or if you don't have a good color to compare it to. But if it was on something gold, I think the blue would pop a little bit more. But it's nice and bright. It's a relatively straightforward stone to cut and polish, at least in my experience. The cat hair really sells it, I think. And this design is Princess Trilliant by Tony Collins, which does really well in low refractive index materials. We looked at that X cube already. I got a couple of the CTH YAG, which is the chromium, thulium, holmium, yttrium, aluminum, garnet. This one was one that I sent to Kyle and nobody got it there, I guess. I'm pretty sure I sent it to Kyle. But it's got a nice dark, rich green. And let's see. I don't remember what this design was. Oh, this one, nope, it's not that one. And that one was 125. But if anybody wants it, I can lower it to 100 just for this one time. And I guess, so that one is CTH YAG. This is a bigger one, which is 175, which is actually not much more than that one, and it's a little bigger stone. So this one, yeah, I think the diffuse light is the way to go. This can look a little bit dark if the lighting is off. Like it can be pretty dark like this if looked at it from the wrong angle, but you know, most angles that you look at the stone from, you get that rich green color coming through somewhere. Let's see, are we focusing still? Yeah. And this design, square, I think this might be an Aria Akhavan design, but I'm not sure. And then this design, this is actually a design that I made. This was my green mope design with a very small table. And this is the CTH YAG still. I think it has kind of an interesting, a little more slivery light play through it compared to the other designs. Okay, so that was the CTH. That green mope is 120. So that one is 120. Yeah, I like Jägermeister makes you think of green mope, or the other way around. This is I wonder, can you guess what this material is? Oh yeah, I see. So what do you think this stone or material is? It's got some dust on it. I think this design is Green Lion, which is I don't know that it's a publicly available design. So we got one guess for Andalusite, and Melissa got it in one with Sunstone. I think this stone I got from Kyle, the rough, it had a little bit of a green rind to it, which adds to the kind of little bit of a brownish overtone to it. And that one is $255 for that Sunstone. It is a 2.17 carat, about 6.5, 9.2. So that would fit in about a 6.5 by 9 millimeter finding. I know it's so frustrating that I can't do everything from faceting to setting jewelry yet, because it's, I know, kind of a daunting task to buy a stone and then have to go out and find a finding and hope it fits, which is why I'm a little bit jealous of like people like Karen that can do everything themselves. Wow, that's super bright. I don't know why that's so bright. There, this is a little more the way that it actually looks. This is Libyan desert glass. And this might be foliage actually again. I think this might have been the first test cut that I did in foliage, with a little bit of that, those bubbles in there. Oh, there's a little, is that? It's an optical illusion that there's a broken corner on that. I think it's just the way that the reflection of the bubble is hitting it. It's pretty close to the surface, but it's not there. this material should be pretty obvious as well. This is also Sunstone. Is it focusing properly again? Improperly? Yeah. Man, it's too bright with the black background on it. But this one is a very shillery, large sunstone. Still trying to find good lighting. I don't have the lighting setup that Kyle does, because I've never done anything like this before. But this is just a showcase as much as anything else. That one is $285 for a 2.85 carat. That would fit in about an 8 by 12.5 finding. So one of the things that I should probably say more on, like Etsy and whatnot, is the size of the stone that you get. You can kind of go plus or minus 0.2 millimeters to find a finding that would match it. So if you had an 8 by 12.5 millimeter finding, that would fit this 8.2. Yeah, Jenny, I talked to a person down at the University of Idaho recently, and they had a whole suite of all of the different colors of sunstones with very nice cuts from, you know, green to red and all the bicolor that you could imagine. And it was an impressive sight to see them all together like that. I think that was the first time I'd seen that in person. I think this one's amethyst. Oh no, this is YAG. So 120. It's a 9 millimeter, so that would fit in a 9 millimeter finding. I don't have a price on it. Interesting. Oh no, I do have a price on it. I don't have a number on it. So this is also a laser rod reject. Hello, Cindy, and I think Jeff, I don't know if I ever said hi, so welcome. Anybody else that I missed as well. And this, I think, is Mike's reverse brilliant design. Yeah, we're just chilling out, showing off some gemstones. They are mostly all for sale, but I don't really expect to sell anything here today. That's fine. This is, let's see, is that on the inside? So if you have faceted stones that you need to showcase or do anything with, this is I think the brand is Kinematic. It's an anti-static cloth, and it actually works really well for both cleaning off the faces of gemstones, but also keeping them lint-free for at least a few minutes while you, like, taking pictures of these gemstones is a real pain in the butt, because a lot, like quartz especially, seems to be electrostatically charged. Like as soon as you rub it, it just, I've seen dust just get sucked to the surface as I looked at it under a loupe to make sure that it's clean. This, I think, is, so this is The trade name is Colombianite, but it's obsidian from Colombia. 2.5 carats, a 9mm square. And this is the Jeff Graham's Tic Tac design, which is meant to kind of lighten a stone and show the color a little bit. But actually, that orange is the reflection of the cloth in the corner there. So we'll move that. But it does have a little bit of light play going on to it. And there is a little bit of a fracture on the upper right or upper left there, which is an internal fracture and doesn't reach the surface and doesn't cause any issues with the stone. It's still got a perfect polish, but it's hard to showcase those. The moldavite is escaping. So underneath, looking at it from the backside, you get the more of the green color of the moldavite. But it's so hard to show it that way. And this big old stone is something that I have a bit more of that I'm looking forward to faceting because it's YAG still, so it's a synthetic gemstone. Okay, enough of that. But this is a ytterbium YAG, which is 9.2 carats, 11.8. So it would probably fit in a 12mm finding. It is pricey because this is a lot of material. It's $370. But this is like a aquamarine-esque color. It looks the color looks a little different on the camera right now compared to what I see, but it's got the same light play and flash as regular YAG. But yeah, it's throwing rainbows. Yes, Jenny, I've done a few pixel cuts. I actually sold, I think all the pixel cuts that I've done have sold on Etsy already a while ago. That's a little bit more of the bluish color to it. Try to get my finger for. Oh, Melissa, the Colombianite that was $40. I probably should do more pixel cuts because they're pretty popular. And I have, sure thing. Oh, you're the first claim of the day. I don't have any prizes to add to it. This is going in the non-existent boxes that I have. So yeah, that's 9mm square. Well, it is unique, although I do have 2 other ones because I think this is part of the video that I made. They're a little bit smaller, but these are a matching set of Apache tier. They're off by 0.01 carats, which is very close, 8.5mm instead of 9. I wanted to compare the cutting of the Apache tiers to the Colombianite because a lot of people say that the Colombianite is a tektite or a pseudo-tektite, and it's not. So these look similar to the Colombianite one. A little dusty because they've been boxed up for a while. Let's see. Oh, pixel cuts. Yeah, I was. I've cut pixel cuts. I actually cut at least one X cube in a pixel cut, and it looks pretty cool. And I've done that with one of the green emeralds from Kyle. It was really small, but that one sold. And I've done that for a what was I going to say? For a Sunstone that actually someone else bought from the community. What is the yellow one? Two below the rainbow. This one is actually not for sale. This yellow is opal. This is I just wanted to show it off a little bit. This is that's a little more natural. This is a Washington opal from Jared over at Currently Rock Hounding. After I interviewed him for that video, he gave me a couple of pieces and I had to facet one. There we go. So it's got a nice little glow to it. Patrick Stone. Sounds like a Tom Clancy character. This little guy that's been hiding up here. This is a pyrope garnet. This is new material that I've gotten. Actually, I bought it over Memorial Day weekend from a retiring faceter. Just under 5x7. It might fit in a 5x7 pair setting. If you have a talented jeweler, I'm sure they could work with you on that. And it's, I don't know what the price is, but it's a little dark red garnet. And the tips of pears generally look a little darker than the rest of the stone. It's hard to get them to be not too saturated. And that one is $60. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's right. This one does have, I think there's a fracture on the inside. Yeah, there's a fracture on the inside on the right there. I think you can just see it under that facet that was glowing. Actually, it's probably easier to show it that way. I don't know if that would be structurally an issue during setting the stone. There it is, that vertical line there. But this was the first stone that I cut of this material. So I don't know, maybe we could do, say, $50 for that one. Because I've mentioned it to a couple of people, but to some extent, I don't have a lot of what's the term for it? I don't place a lot of intrinsic value in the gemstones that I cut, which is probably not something I should say as a seller, but I like cutting them and like, what do I sell this one for? I don't know. What is it going for on the market? I don't want to undercut anybody, but I also don't want to drive prices crazy or anything. But sometimes stones just feel like they need to be worth more, like this one. This is probably one of my favorite stones that I've cut recently. See if I can get it to to show why I like it so much. So as I rotate it, I hope you can see the purple that's in there as well. And if I turn it way on its side, you can see it for sure. This is Tourmaline. Yeah, this is the one that I shared in Discord and posted to Instagram too. This is a Tourmaline in the design called Gnome's Geode by Aquamarine. Let's see, let's try this. Which it's a dichroic tourmaline, and so it's kind of, let me fix this. There's my forehead again. It's a kind of, it was a lightish pink along one axis and purple on the other. And I oriented it so that, or I tried to orient it so that when you rotate it, you get purple along some facets, and then it goes to the pink, and purple pops up in little flashes as you go around the stone. And the design itself is really cool, where it's kind of like it's a term called kozibe, which technically has a flat culet on the bottom, but this is a pointed culet, where the pavilion gets reflected along all of the top crown facets there. So you get a radiating splintery effect through every facet, because they're all relatively big table stones, or table facets. So you can see the purple kind of coming through there as well. But yeah, I really like that one. And I have it priced at $250 for a 2.115 carat 7.4 by 7.8 millimeter tourmaline. And some of that price is the cost of the rough as well, where a lot of this material I got relatively inexpensively, but some of it was kind of pricey. And so this was actually one of the first, if not the first, tourmalines that I've cut. I can't remember if I did another tourmaline. I think I did a small tourmaline from Kyle. And this one didn't give me trouble, but this one was such a pain in the butt to facet. It cracked to heck and back, and it fell off the dot multiple times. And it wound up being a 1.5 carat stone, which is a lot smaller than the rough originally was. But it would probably fit it would fit a 5 by 7.5 millimeter finding, I think. But this one is a bicolor tourmaline, where we got green and kind of a peachy pink on the other side. It's hard to get the colors right here, where it's hard to get one where it's not too dark and one where it's not too light. And that one is priced at $200, but I don't know, maybe $150 would be better. Although, yeah, if someone wanted to claim it for $150 right now, I'd let them, but it would probably go up on Etsy for like $200. Oh, I was going to zoom in. That's what I was going to do. There we go. This one is in the design Visage of Ramiel by Arya Akavan. And this design was created by him specifically. It was actually for closed sea tourmaline, which is when the ends of the tourmaline are dark and doesn't let light through. But it actually has a sort of a side effect of making it so the colors don't mix. So you get a really sharp, crisp line between the two sides of the stone. And it's super bright in the light, so I have to kind of block it a little bit so we don't blow it out. But this is actually probably the first and so far only stone that's been cut in that design, which is something that I like to do every now and then. Is someone will post a design to Discord or on the US Fasteners Guild website, and you know, there's nobody else in the world that has a cut like that right now. Let's see if I can. Okay, there we go. There's this is the moldavite. Now that the sun is blocked a little bit, you can see the green coming through a little bit better. How close can we get? The little bubbles and things there, let's see if some of those are, I'll wipe it off and see if some of those are dust or not. If anybody has any faceting questions, I'd be happy to chat about them. There we go. So this is moldavite. Yeah, moldavite should have bubbles in it, Jackie. If it's a crisp and clean moldavite, you're more likely looking at glass, because there's a lot of imitations, but this rough was from Kyle. I made the video about faceting it, and he got his piece. Let's see if we can find some interesting things in here. So those straight lines that go all the way across it are the Le Chatellurite. They get a little bit refracted off of the facets of the stone, but this one had a lot of flow lines in it. And it's not too bubbly actually, but you can see the bubbles moving back and forth in a 3D effect inside there. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So those are the flow lines from the glass as it was cooling down in midair, probably. I'm not sure what the lines are technically, but the material is, I think it's Le Chatellurite, which is a sort of a pseudomorph of silica, or it's a mineraloid. And I think these would be flow lines from the glassy globule sort of streamlining in midair, like internally causing the strain to stretch out. I really liked faceting this one because I got to see those lines kind of shift and move around as I cut them. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So I have that one as 200 for a 6.4 millimeter, almost 1 carat, so close. I decided I don't think I'm going to list it on Etsy, but you know it's available now. this, I think, is one of the newer aquamarines that I got. I decided to make it a standard, I think it's just a standard round brilliant 5mm aqua for 65. And it has a little bit more color to it. It's still a little bit pale because it's a small stone, and the brightness of the cut makes it look a little whiter than it is. See if we can hide a little bit from the sun. But if you put it up against skin or something that is definitely not white, the blue stands out a little bit more. And I think this is just a standard round brilliant with spiked mains, so it's got a little bit finer accent facets on the back, like those skinny facets that are lighting up there. So that's all the stones that are not on Etsy. I haven't gone through some of these ones. A lot of these ones are the pricier ones, like this lithium niobate, which, if you want to talk about throwing rainbows, if only it wasn't so soft. I think we're having trouble focusing here. So it's even sparklier and more colorful in person than it is right now, because I can't get the lighting quite right. I should probably shift the camera and get the lighting to my back so I can get it better, but lithium niobate was a kind of short-lived diamond simulant. It's just lithium, niobium, and oxygen. It has a hardness of 4 to 4.5, so it's a little too soft for most common jewelry wear. You got to be a little bit careful with it, so it's maybe not a super seller. And that's part of why it failed the diamond simulant test. It's just too soft for a lot of material, for a lot of things, but it's so dispersive. It's actually, I think it's brighter and more dispersive than diamond, so it throws more rainbows and it cuts a brighter stone. It's $475 because it's kind of hard to get the material now, but it's basically a 12 by 12. Yeah, 12.25 by 10. It's 10 millimeters tall, but it's a big stone. And yeah, I'm just going to pick it up. So a couple materials that I don't have for sale, but I figured I'd just show, is the stuff that I got from my mom. I shared it on Patreon a while ago, but these are synthetic emerald. I'll just take one out. These were grown by the Chatham Company, probably back in the 70s is when my grandfather would have bought them. This was some of his material that my mom sent. And it's a characteristic Chatham look to it because it's got sort of a microcrystalline base, which is where the material starts to grow, and then it starts to coalesce and grow into columns. And you actually can't buy this rough anymore from Chatham anyway, so anything you see on the market is sort of old stock material. They keep everything in-house and facet it there now. I should probably be more careful with them than I am. But I thought it was a cool little bit of history, both in terms of, you know, the history of synthetic gemstones, but also this was probably my grandfather's, part of my grandfather's collection. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to cut these ones anyway, partly because I don't really have anything else like them, but they're such a cool specimen as is. And similarly to that, these are synthetic rubies. I think it's a flux ruby, maybe by Chatham. So the emeralds there are grown by a hydrothermal process, whereas flux-grown material is a little faster, I think. And you start with kind of a seed that might be in the middle of a cluster, and it grows inside of a flux like lead or something ridiculous and toxic probably. But these are basically attempts to get very close to the natural way that rubies are formed, sort of in a magma growing amongst other materials. And so apart from inclusions and impurities from the flux method itself, these are actually very structurally, I think, identical to the way that natural rubies form. And these would be fluorescent like any other ruby. If I had my UV light is still packed away from going down to see sunstones. And in there as well, I wish I knew anything more about these ones. These are a couple of natural emeralds. I don't know from where, but he had a couple of real emeralds that have been faceted. He didn't facet them. I don't think my grandfather was a faceter, just a collector. But this is sort of the typical way that an actual emerald will look, where it's got lots of inclusions. A lot of times they're oiled to hide the inclusions. There we go, if I back up, that's a little closer to the natural color. But I don't think this one is oiled, or if it was oiled, it's been sitting around for 50 years, so the oil's all dried up. And again, these ones aren't for sale, just talking rocks now. Okay. And this one is actually very round on the back. So I was tempted to try to fix this because it's so tall and definitely not optimal for emeralds. But I think with emeralds, I haven't faceted them just because they're so finicky, but I think you're supposed to leave them a little bit deep, and actually windowing isn't much of an issue, or isn't as looked down upon with emeralds, because you want that green color. And I didn't facet these opal guy. These ones are from my grandfather's collection, but pretty much everything else on the table I did, but thank you. Oh, and this one, So back to stuff that I have faceted. Maybe you can tell by the way that it's behaving in the sun already. This is a synthetic alexandrite, where it is actually the alexandrite composition. It's not corundum, it's not sapphire, it's not a sapphire simulant. It is synthetic corundum, or sorry, it's synthetic alexandrite, so it's a chrysoberyl. And this has the kind of like different colors under different wavelengths effect going on, where it's actually got some indirect sunlight on it right now, so it's a little more like fluorescent red even in the indirect sunlight. If I try to block the sun a little bit, we'll go to anyway, it shifts between kind of reddish and purplish depending on the wavelength of the light. It's just so big that it's hard to block. So you can get some purple coming through there as I try to block the light. This one does have, it is bubbly on the inside. So you can see there's lots of bubbles on the inside there if I turn it over. It's got a polish to it, it's just those little marks are all bubbles on the inside. And still looks pretty cool, I think, and it's actually way, way brighter in the camera than, there we go. I didn't really realize it was doing that to that extent. It's so hard to get good color. Yeah, well, I do own, we do have 2 cats. And where are the other 2? There's the other 2. So that one's on Etsy. It's $3.50 for that big one. This is a matched pair of the same material for $1.50. And honestly, that color is actually a little more realistic. I don't remember the cut that I did for this one offhand. It wasn't one of mine, it was one that I got probably from Aria or somewhere. But it's so hard to show the colors of these accurately. There's the bubbles on the inside, and there's my dirty hand lens. So they're pretty bubbly. Yeah, that didn't help, did it? No, Dave, these are everything on the table are either things that I faceted or have bought faceted. The emeralds that I showed, I don't think my grandpa actually faceted them. He probably bought them faceted. These are all stones that I have cut over the last couple of years. This one is one that's a relatively new addition to the shop. From far away, it's a quartz, and as we get closer, there are fine rutile needles in there. This design is called Montana Blueberry. I think it's made by a guy named Chris Evans, and it was modified by Michael Holmes, and then I modified it slightly to work in quartz, so we didn't get a window in the middle there. I think it worked pretty well. How close can we get with this? So I'd say I have it blocked a lot by the shadow of my hand. There we go. So there is a fracture on this side that I don't think is a structural issue at all. This is a bit more natural light. We'll zoom in. There we go. Yeah, one of the things that I found pretty early on was that quartz can actually sparkle quite nicely. Let's try, I think my tongs can just handle it. There we go. So there's the rutile needles lighting up. And one of the things that I really like to do with faceting is go for gemstones with interesting inclusions in them, like the rutile. And that's part of why I went for something like the moldavite or the Libyan desert glass, and sunstones have cool inclusions. Yeah, and that one is 150. It is a 11.45 carat quartz for 14.3 millimeters. Maybe you could get away with putting it in a 14 millimeter finding. I'm not really sure how that all works. Let's block the sun a little bit. I know it is just quartz, but I think that's a pretty good price for that. There's a flashlight. And this is a totally not natural way to look at the stone normally, but this is one that I'm surprised has not sold in my shop. I know it's a little more of a religious bent to it, but I made a similar, this is a Colombian topaz. It's a big it's got a frosted cross on the front. I'm not sure what finding would be best for it, but I made a slightly smaller one for a family friend, well, family really. and I really liked the design and the way it turned out, especially in topaz, and decided to cut another one and see if there was anybody in the market for that, but I guess not. And that one is, maybe it's the price, it's 300 for that topaz. But it is a big topaz. 14.72 carats. Dave, I do have some aquamarine. Only small ones, and I've knocked over a lot of my other stones here. They are all natural aquamarine, so they're not quite as blue. Was this one aquamarine? Oh, it's a sapphire. So this is a small, it's a 5mm aquamarine that I have for 65. That's in a simple standard round brilliant design. So that would work in pretty much any finding, I think. Nice and round. Color, light's not the best for that. And then these are a couple of fairly pale aquamarine that are, the big one is 40 and the small one is 20. So those are pretty inexpensive just because they were kind of test cuts that I was doing. The clear huge one beside the big red one. This one, this one is it is topaz. It's Colombian topaz. It actually, I think, might have very fine needles in it as well. Yeah, you can see a little bit lighting up in the bottom here. Those lines that kind of go left to right. There's a couple of fine needles in there, probably of rutile. If I back off a little bit, that's the, but I guess I need to pay more attention to topaz, especially Colombian topaz. I have a couple more pieces that I should probably facet, but it was kind of a pain to do this one because it was so big. So I decided to take a break and do other stuff. Yeah, Dave, I do have more aquamarine rough that I got recently that I've started to work away with, but it's a little included, so it's slow going. Cindy, I have that as, I think it's 300. I think I have that as 300 on Etsy, but that was a little bit to build in the fees for Etsy, so I'd be fine with like 250 for that one. Let's see. And this one for a long time was my favorite faceted stone. It's a nice peachy, a little bit of a hint of red in some orientations, but this is a Sunstone. I think I had it overpriced for a while. I think I listed it originally as like 250. I think I lowered it, I'm pretty sure, to 150 on my Etsy. A 6.75mm. And this stone actually won me Faceter of the Year at my Rock and Gem Club. We have yearly contest for a lot of different categories like fasting, cabochon, best find, most unique rock, that kind of thing. And this is the stone that won me Faceter of the Year for the second year in a row, which I almost didn't enter this year. Oops, because I was starting to become a little more than just a hobby faceter, but there wasn't really enough competition to, I don't know, I wanted to give people some competition and not just have like the one person that entered win by default. I don't know what I'm going to enter next year just so I can go retire undefeated. And oh yeah, for this Sunstone, I think I have it listed on Etsy as 150, which I think I'd be firm on for non-Etsy as well. Partly because I like it so much. Maybe there's too much sentimental value in there, but it's got a nice color to it. Okay. Thank you very much, Lisa, for the $2. And I'll put these two aquas, I assume you mean, the $60 total for those, the Trilliant and the Square. I have not faceted indicolite, Cindy. I'll show it one last time. So this against we'll get the sun in here too. All right, it'll be available, Dave. I'm surprised it's sat around this long, but it's got a little bit of schiller in there too, which I like to give it a little bit more of that goldeny color. But no pressure to buy. And let's see, so this little guy. This is just a little Montana sapphire. I'm pretty sure it's a Montana sapphire. It's definitely sapphire. I'm fairly certain it's from Montana based on where I got it from. Oh, sorry, did I miss your claim earlier, Lisa? Sorry. Just a simple sparkly sapphire. And the reason I don't really know where that one's from is it came on a DOP that I bought. And that's a 0.56 carat, about 4.5 millimeter. And that one is only $60 as well, which, you know, it's hard to beat for a Montana sapphire. I'm pretty sure it's Montana. Again, I don't actually know, but based on the people that I bought it from and the color, it looks very similar to other Montana sapphires that I've seen. It's a very pale blue in person. And I don't do too many standard round brilliants, even though they're so standard in the industry that people could do anything they want with them relatively easily. Oh, yeah, sorry, Lisa. I saw your comment saying that you had wished to be able to buy them at one point, but oh well. It's sorted now. I'll knock off $2 from the total as well. This is citrine, one of those crystals from Kyle not too long ago that I think this might be Mike Zinsky's reverse brilliant design modified for quartz, probably based on the height of that crown. And yeah, you know, it's just a sparkly yellow quartz. Sybarite. I have not even heard of that word before, Cindy. Sybarite? And this one, I think that's a 4. This is just $45 for a 8mm hexagon citrine. Let's see, that'll sit like that, I guess. So, Cindy, what is sybarite? Or sybarite, or is that a misspelling? Autocorrect issue. His name, oh, purple variety of tourmaline. I see your test, Kyle. And I think now we've gone through all the stones. Purple tourmaline. Oh yeah, I don't know all the sub varieties of tourmaline's colors, but I have. I mean, this tourmaline that I have did have a purple C axis, which it's hard to get on the tweezers here. So this one does has some purple flashes to it. Depending on the orientation that you look at it in. But no, I haven't cut a specifically purple tourmaline before. And there's, I don't know if anyone's noticed this single little dot. This was part of my grandfather's estate as well, which is the teeniest, tiniest emerald. It's just a little melee. I don't know what, this is the label that it was in. It says Gem 2.0 Ruby AA A. So I don't know if it's like bordering on AAA grade, but it was just such a tiny ruby. I can't do anything with it. And I don't know. Yeah, Kyle, I guess it was Zambian citrine. I started to work on another piece of it, but got sidetracked by other material. So I think that's all the, oh, well, that's not all the stones that I have actually. I forgot about these ones. So these are my original gem jars, which have a glass top to them. And I thought they were the better ones at first, but they seem to collect dust a little bit more, and yeah. So some of these ones are ones that were shown at Kyle's. I don't know what this one was though. Did I send that little? Yeah. Oh, so these ones. These on the right side here are cubic zirconia that I did not facet. These, my dad had these for some reason and he brought them over. So yeah, these ones aren't even priced because I don't know. Partly because CZ is pretty cheap and I didn't cut them, so I didn't want to put them on my store, even though, you know, everybody likes sparkly things. But I wasn't sure of the quality of the polish and cut. This one actually looks pretty good. But, you know, cubic zirconia's got that diamond simulant going for it. And that one is, yeah, this one's actually a standard 7x14 size, which there's probably a finding for it somewhere out there. Some of these have been shown before, and I haven't. They'll be pretty dusty because they've been sitting around for a while. This one. This one doesn't have as much of the flash as some other stones because it's kind of like an igloo cut where it's a high domed top. Might need to look out the light. This was more of a challenge to myself than a stone that I wanted to sell necessarily, because to get all of the facets to meet up was a challenge in itself, because there's like 6 tiers of square facets as you go up. Cool, Cindy. I hope you are enjoying them. And this one, did I? So this is a almost 11 millimeter smoky quartz, which I think I might have listed on Etsy. But this was actually a fairly early cut of quartz that I did. This was actually the 8th stone that I ever cut, and I was really surprised after hearing so many bad things about quartz and the issues. It faceted really easily, but also had really good like brilliance to it almost. It's throwing a little bit of color, good flash. And it's just a simple smoky quartz. But I was like, wow, that actually, I wouldn't have necessarily thought quartz coming from that one. It looks a little bit dark in this light. See if I can trick the camera. clean it off a little bit. And I think this is Mike's reverse brilliant cut too. I've cut that design quite a bit because it works really well in a lot of materials. There we go. Cindy, it depends on the material, I would say. If it's let's see. If it's something like this, which this is a piece of laser ruby rod that I've cut down. If it's something like this where I can basically do anything that I want with it without too much trouble, then it's really more a matter of what I'm feeling, either that I want to try a new design, or on the rare occasion that someone actually wants a specific design. Obviously, a round would give me the best yield for the material, but since I have a fair bit of this material now, I don't have to worry as much about getting the perfect yield and maximizing it for something like this. But one thing that I'm working on right now is some of those sunstones from Oregon. And in that case, this is on my DOP right now. This is it's going to look green because of the wax that I use. This is a red sunstone. And I'm not going to be able to get the color right, I don't think. But with the sunstone, this sunstone started out as kind of a oval, elongated shape. And so I searched around for a design that worked for the sunstone refractive index and was an oval and looked interesting. Because one of the things that I wanted to do was, ovals are kind of annoying to do in and of themselves. So I didn't really want to do an oval. And this design is more or less this outline. It'll be a little bit shorter, but it'll have an interesting look to it, I think. Oh, I might have buffered there for a second. It said I reconnected. But yeah, it's more, if I have a lot of material to work with, then it's basically whatever I'm feeling. If it's a natural stone or something with a specific look or orientation, then that will more dictate what cut I use. And so, yeah, with something like this, I could do a pixel cut with it, no problem. I mean, I could do a pixel cut with this too, but I wouldn't. But yeah, you can do a pixel cut with pretty much any stone. There's a couple of good designs, both for high and low refractive index pixel cuts, or high and low refractive index stones for pixel cuts. Thank you, Opal Guy, for reminding everybody. We're almost at 2 hours here. That's a long time. So I think I'll just show something that I haven't shown or hasn't been seen anywhere. These are zircon. These are the only zircons that I faceted. I don't even have the dimensions on them because I don't know. They turned out okay. But I got a few zircons from someone a while back and decided to try them out. There we go. But they are, I think, Cambodian zircons. This one has a fracture near the table of it. And this is part of why I haven't listed them for sale, is they all kind of have some issues where it's not a noticeable fracture until you tilt it just the right way. But they're a cool blue. This one's a little kind of teardrop blue shape. I have to clean off the facet there a little bit. And I'd say these are pretty close to the natural color that I'm seeing on my screen. It's a slightly darkish blue. And another reason I didn't put them up for sale on Etsy or anything is, well, besides the internal issues with them, if you leave these out in the sun, they can darken, which I did a test and I didn't see that much of an issue with these stones specifically, but I wasn't sure. And this one had so many inclusions that I wound up just grinding it into a flat. There is no table basically, or there is no crown, it's all table. It still looks kind of interesting, but I don't know that anyone would be interested in a stone like that for a ring or anything. But you can see the difference in the blue from there to that one. Like this one's a lot darker than that one is. I should probably get more zircon. And then this was the big amethyst that was at Kyle's. Almost 9 carat. It has a fracture on one side on the inside there. But this one is actually a nice dark purple amethyst. And yeah, I really like that color too, Lisa. Now that I've knocked a few things askew, probably end it here in a couple of minutes unless anyone wants to see anything different specifically or see anything again, just to ooh and ah over. Does that? Curious what this looks like. Oh yeah, it just looks all blown out and green. Oh, that's why it looks so bad. I had my resolution on my computer lowered a lot. So yeah, this is some of the stuff that I've been cutting over the last couple of years. Everything from glass to natural glass to synthetic garnet and Apache tears, Sunstone, laser ruby, Tourmaline. Let's see, we got Sunstone, garnet, Tourmaline, Peridot, amethyst, corundum simulant, corundum, opal, X cube, CTH YAG, Libyan desert glass, Sunstone, YAG. Oh, I didn't show this one. This is a little green greenish tinge sunstone. This is a small 0.42 carat, 4.7 millimeter sunstone, $50. And it has a tinge of green to it, as I almost drop it. But it's hard to see. Let's zoom in and knock it all around. And now it's upside down. If I do that, yeah, I mean, you'd have to believe me that there's a tinge of green to it. It's an okay stone. So the elongated one on the bottom. So if you're talking about this one, this is which you can't see because I'm zoomed in. If you're talking about this rectangular one, this is a alexandrite, or synthetic alexandrite, a little bit bubbly, but that one is $350, I think, on Etsy. I have it marked as $350 on my gem jar here. It's a just under 6 carat, 8.6 by 12.4 millimeter synthetic alex. And I could lower that to like 300, but there we go. Yeah, so now it's purple. See if I open the window, if the sun shifts it at all. There we go. The sun just came out. What about the opalized? This opal isn't for sale. That was just to show the round rainbow. This one up here, I think, is 160. That's an X cube. Take it out of the jar there. I'm blocking the light with my other hand. And then this is also an X cube, not quite as round, but it's got a couple of frosted facets to look like a flower. And these are just fun to look at. This is a material called X cube, which is a dichroic glass where there's been prisms of glass essentially fused together with a dichroic film between them. And I'll actually get the rough material. So this is what an X cube starts as, which is, you can see why it's called an X cube by the general public now, is it forms an X with 4 different triangle prisms that are fused together. And these are made for some kind of optical thing, but these just didn't quite meet their standards. And so every face has a different There's green and purple and red. And so it is just glass, but it's got cool optical properties, and depending on how you orient the stone, like this one, if I can find it. So I oriented it a little bit off axis, so I oriented it something like this when I faceted it. But there's really almost no wrong way to facet these to make them look cool, because that prism throws rainbows like nothing. But as you can see, this is pretty big material, and I kind of maximized the rough on that one. And my battery is at 20%, and I don't feel like plugging it in, so I guess anyone's welcome to email me at donahuelabs@gmail.com if you're interested in buying anything. I have an Etsy shop. I have a YouTube channel, by the way, in case you're curious. And I got a P.O. box. So we'll end it there, I guess, and say thank you everyone for hanging out. I hope I didn't miss too many comments as I got distracted by pretty gemstones. Let me know what your favorite stone was, even if you don't want to buy it. I think right now, it's so hard to decide, but I think just because it's so new, and I wish it came across a little bit better in video, is the purpley pink shift of this tourmaline. You just get little glimpses of it, like there's some purple hints coming through. I think that's my current favorite. And I think, like I said, all of these 3 columns are listed on Etsy right now. So you can go and look at them in closer detail there. I took better photos and videos of them that are posted there. But everyone else, we'll chat later. See you probably on someone else's live here during the week. I know Allison Prairie Girl Rocks goes live on Wednesday mornings, mid-morning, our time. And hi, bye, John. Oh, my camera's dancing. Too close. All right, I'm going to end the live here. So talk to y'all later. Have a good week.